Now that things are finally starting to come out, and that we have like B.I.G, which is a stable coin, and Indigo and LQ and AADA and all these. Now that these are finally coming out, we're starting to see TVL go up. So you can go on DeFi Llama, track the chain's TVL, and Cardano has gone from the 28th or 29th largest blockchain to TVL, which is horrible, to now like the 18th, which is still super small. Yeah. But it's been progressing a lot. And if you look at it, the TVL for ADA is the highest it's ever been. We're pretty much at 400 million ADA, which is the highest, and it's actually pretty much 2x over the last 2 to 3 months. So a lot more people are starting to pay attention to it. And the whole thought process is that as more projects come out, there's going to be more money flowing into this ecosystem. As more money flows into the ecosystem, it's going to be more beneficial or lucrative for developers to come and actually learn how to code these things. And then all of a sudden, that money will then, in my opinion, flow into the NFTs as more people just get into the ecosystem. That's going to be used with our JellyChunk token. And I can't talk too much about JellyChunk tokens yet here, but I think that it's really going to revolutionize tokens. Like, I think a lot of people are going to start copying us once we do this. Because it's just a better way of doing things than what's already out there. So we're making a whole entire platform where you can use these different chunks in a very, very cool ways. And we're making these chunks hybrid where they can be both on and off chain. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to be compatible with every single blockchain, while at the same time being able to develop really quickly, while at the same time having the benefits of having an on-chain token as well as an option. So the big thing that's coming out this month, that's pretty much ready to roll, is actually phase 1. Basically, if you own a Jellycube, you are part of the B.I.G, the Block Investment Group, which is kind of like our umbrella company, our umbrella movement of what we're trying to do. Basically, your ticket is your lifetime access in. We have different alpha and information channels. We're building out a lot of different revenue streams to help support the project and also give utilities to our holders. We also have like a launch pad and incubator coming up, and we're really hoping to be able to do consulting for a lot of Web 2 projects trying to get into Web 3 in the future. So I was like, you know what? It'll be so cool to be able to have an NFT project, and instead of having a subscription model where people have to pay each month, they can instead just own the NFT.
Good. This is Stu from Stu TV. I cover all things blockchain, metaverse, crypto, NFTs, all money making opportunities in the space. I have a special guest with me today, and I'm gonna allow him to introduce himself to the audience.
What up, guys? Awesome to be here. My name is Jason, otherwise known as The Block is Hot. And I also have a little YouTube channel where I cover different crypto and NFT content called The Block is Hot. I mostly cover Cardano NFTs. And I actually own my own Cardano NFT project, which is where I met Stu. He was actually in our Discord before we even launched, and he's been an OG of the project. So it's awesome to be here and talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, definitely, man. I definitely appreciate you having you coming on. I know I always give credit where credit is due. I know I learned a lot from your channel when I first got into NFTs. You really gave me like a base, of knowledge in terms of like what to look for, because I know I watched other channels and it really didn't click with me, but the way you illustrate things is taught in a digestible manner. So for that, I can't thank you enough. But yeah, man, I just want to just get in just straight into it. But just for people that I know you have your project, the Jellycubes, but just for the viewers and people that are new to this, can you explain what is the Jellycubes and what actually inspired you to create the project?
Yeah, totally. So Jellycubes are these silly little jelly translucent monsters with different things inside of them that they collect, that they enjoy. And basically, if you own a Jellycube, you are part of the B.I.G, the Block Investment Group, which is kind of like our umbrella company, our umbrella movement of what we're trying to do. So basically, your ticket is your lifetime access in. We have different alpha and information channels. We're building out a lot of different revenue streams to help support the project and also give utilities to our holders. We also have like a launch pad and incubator coming up, and we're really hoping to be able to do consulting for a lot of Web 2 projects trying to get into Web 3 in the future. But as far as how the idea came to me, I got into crypto pretty early on, around 2017. I started cryptocurrency mining. And I didn't really take the time to learn a ton about crypto. And at the time, it was actually like really hard to learn things. There weren't that many resources out there. And then through time, probably closer to 2020-ish, I started paying a lot more attention to crypto once it started pumping again. And I got into NFTs, like NBA Top Shots was the first time I got exposed to NFTs. Messed around in Ethereum, got into a bunch of different DeFi projects, was hopping around. And then ultimately I was like, oh my gosh, my sister's an artist. Maybe we can actually make a project. And during this whole crazy time of, buying and selling things and getting into DeFi, I had always been part of these different groups that had provided information. And it really helped you make a lot more money in that space and just like flipping whatever you're getting into. So I was like, you know what? It'll be so cool to be able to have an NFT project. And instead of having a subscription model where people have to pay each month, they can instead just own the NFT. So that was kind of the base idea of like, okay, let's try to provide information in this space. I know a decent amount of crypto now. I had started a YouTube channel where I was teaching people about it too. My sister's an artist. Let's make it happen.
Man, that's so cool. Just because like even like what you said, like with the subscription model base, like you kind of make it to where everybody will benefit. Just because as more knowledge comes into the space, more alphas being come, more people come, then like the value of the NFT will rise. Just based on just the overall essence of the group. So I like how you had a mindset of just like not necessarily how can I win, but how can we all win together? And that's so dope that like just everything that you're building to this point. And like for that, man, it really separates you just from a lot of different like content creators as far as influencers in the space, because like you really are for the people.
Yeah, man. And I think one of the big thing is like, value is seen in a lot of different ways, but one of the most valuable things is knowledge, in my opinion. Like I just posted a post recently how I was using ChatGPT recently to like just learn more stuff. And I think we live in an age where like knowledge and education and connections are just so valuable. And I really wanted that to be a core of the project. And one of the things that really, motivates and inspires me is being able to help other people and to have a group where we can all kind of talk and figure out different opportunities and different DeFi plays or what's hot right now or how do we get into different stuff or other people's opinions. It's such an immeasurable amount of value, and over time as our project grows, we've only gotten better at being able to release that information. And like our group and community over time has become more knowledgeable in the space too. So it's kind of like this huge mastermind where over time it'll hopefully just keep building on itself.
Yeah, I definitely see that just in terms of like, a lot of different, projects and things like for me, just like for the future, just looking, 5, 10 years down the line, just like, man, what if like, Gary Vee decides decides to join the group,
Yeah,
or
dude.
like, or Grant Cardone just like, let's put a little real estate segment in here, or just like, it could be so many different people or influencers that you're building something that might attract somebody just from another industry, or just somebody that doesn't have exposure that could really boost up like that value, just kind of like how Steph Curry got into Bored Apes, or like how Snoop Dogg's getting into Clay. So I definitely see that just coming with the project as this project grows. And even overall Cardano is just like an entire chain like really comes into the project. So like, for me, I'm here for the long term. I've been rocking with you since we had like
Yes,
seven,
sir.
800 subs, and I was just like, I remember I was on like the YouTube channel, like, man, when is he gonna start like some type of group or something like that? I was looking
Yeah.
for that. So it's just like it's crazy. Fast forward, just how many things have like been rolling, just for your project. But one thing I wanted to ask is like, can you talk to like any like previous business experience or just entrepreneurial journey that you've been in, or just other industries, if so?
Yeah, yeah. And to quickly tap into what you had said previously, like I definitely see and envision, in the future, like if we can really grow this project, all of a sudden we can have CEOs of major companies in there. Different artists. We were talking about like right before this call started, different artists with a kid called Beast and what they're doing. And whether it's Gary Vee, it's funny. We have our friends and family JellyCubes coming, which you're gonna get one, obviously. But I'm saving number 5 because that's Gary Vee's favorite number, and he'll always
Oh,
do this 5 thing. So I've already thought ahead of like that potentially coming up, which is
yeah.
funny. But yeah, as far as previous business experience, man, like I've always been super entrepreneurial. Whether it was getting into different crypto mining, just being ahead in like DeFi and stuff. But one of the big things I did, especially while I was in college, was get really into flipping. And I was part of these, different groups that would flip a bunch of different stuff. And, at one point I was selling swimming pools. At one point I was selling Oreos. Like it didn't
Man,
really matter what it was. And I had done that pretty hard and scaled that up over a few years where it was starting to become like a pretty decent thing. And once again, that's kind of how I realized like, yo, this is how a group can be ran. This is the value you can get from these different groups. And when I realized NFTs were the same thing I was doing with physical goods, but now all of a sudden you had digital goods, I was like, this is a no brainer to get into because now all of a sudden you're not dealing with the same logistics of like all the supplies and packaging and returns and packages getting lost and people saying they didn't get their package when they did and like
yeah,
processing refunds. Like now all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, I can buy this NFT for $100 and sell it for $300 within 2 minutes. And boom, I just made $200 off that one NFT. And that's when I really started, turning my focus away from physical products and onto digital, where I just saw like way more opportunity in.
wow. Yeah, I know for me, I've kind of been in like, similar industries. I know I was like in MLM and different things, and to be able to sell, like I have to sell you on a $25 upsell, and then from there you get to the 100 or you get to the 500, you get to the
Yeah.
$3,000 product. But it's just kind of like, coming in here, I necessarily don't have to sell, to somebody. I could just post something on the marketplace and then somebody will be attracted to be able to buy it. So it's less of that, and it's more of like a different kind of process. It's still like somebody else's money in their pocket, but it's just a different process and the element of how, just as far as just like the flipping like aspect of it, and then just also just like everything that NFTs like represent. So like for me, like NFTs is just like it's not just something I do. I'm super passionate and I really believe in
Yeah.
this technology. I really believe in, it, like even a lot of things with the blockchain on how it could be able to like solve like voting. There's been questions even with the Donald Trump. I'm not really gonna get into like him specifically. I know he's a popular topic, but like people had conversations of whether the election was rigged or just different things. And these
Yeah.
technologies can like have a transparent system to allow people to actually see like, no, this ain't no bullshit. It's like legit. I could go
Facts.
track because like there's a lot of different projects that I've minted. They'll say, oh yeah, we're at like 2,000 sell limit. And then when I go check like the Cardano scan, I'm like, wait a minute, y'all only minted like 200 NFTs.
Yeah.
Y'all lying here. It's just like it doesn't really allow for that. So like that's just something dope, just coming from the MLM and just other industries that I've been in, and just coming into this space is just like I'm definitely like here like for the long term. So I know just for me, I,
Dude, I mean, facts. And what's funny is like when you first get into crypto and NFTs, it's like, okay, how can I make money? And what's really interesting is over time, as you're in it more, you start to see all these other aspects. There's the community aspect of being able to meet other people and make those connections. And like, there's the aspect of like trying to help a project grow, like once again, that we had talked about. And then there's aspects of there's a lot of tech here that has tons of real world capabilities and applications, but it just hasn't been done yet. So we're kind of living in this map where 99% of the map hasn't been explored yet. And what's really cool is being in the spaces, you can kind of pick which direction to go and where to explore. And there can be new things that you find out and new utilities and innovations that you can create because it's so early and the technology is so versatile and so vast. So it really is just, as you dive into it, as you learn, you're like, wow, this is way more to this thing. So yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, I feel like we're truly like living in like a time of historic change. Like that's what I feel like I'm living in. And like I'm truly appreciative of like how early, I discovered this. However I did, I'm just really I'm just really appreciative of however I got here. I'm just really appreciative of it just cause like even like I know we was talking off camera, just I know I went to NFT Miami and just like that's their second convention ever. And like some of these are just like one, two, as far as their second or even third anniversary, depending on what events you go to. But just imagine once we get to like the 10th anniversary or the 25th anniversary, just like, and you can say that you've been here like since the beginning. Like for me, if that doesn't make you want to like grind and build something substantial like in this space, in my opinion, I don't know what does. So it's like it and just for the people that's watching, like really just take advantage of this opportunity that's in front of you. So I know that's for me, but I know like even with the jelly cubes, like I know the group is like just starting to branch off into like, Polygon and different things and just covering just a lot of NFT projects over there. Can you speak? So I have two questions. Can you speak to why you chose Polygon and then also like, upcoming chains or just different like blockchains that you're looking also to venture into?
Yeah, so I think one of the big things that you realize when you get into NFTs is it's a lot to keep up with. And when you're in a blockchain, let's say Cardano, a lot of times you'll have maxis that only pay attention to Cardano NFTs because it's very hard to pay attention to multiple chains at the same time just because of how fast the market moves. And one of the things that you'll see is like Cardano, for the most part, they focus on Cnfts. Ethereum, they'll focus on Ethereum NFTs. Solana, same thing. And one of the things that's nice about what we're doing with JellyCubes is we're compressing data and information in a digestible way. So it's a lot quicker for you to get the info you need about different opportunities, projects, news, whatever the case is, right? So when we started JellyCubes, I was like like in the very beginning, I was like, okay, the project is JellyCubes. The movement and umbrella is the B.I.G, is the Block Investment Group, because we don't want to just tie ourselves down to potentially one chain or just one little area, but we want to do a lot more with this whole overall project, right? So at first we picked Cardano for JellyCubes, the first launch, because I'm actually very bullish on Cardano in the long term. I love the tech. I think it's very underrated, very undervalued. I think there's a ton of opportunity here. And I think there's just a lot of growth to happen. And the sustainability and scaling is there where I believe it's going to be around for a while. And when we're looking at other blockchains, one of the big questions we're asking ourselves is like, okay, is this going to be around? And a lot of times people might say, of course, this is going to be around. But, you'll see stuff like Terra Luna collapse. You'll see stuff like FTX collapse. No one was saying that FTX was going to collapse randomly, right? So I think what's interesting is we can have these very big, bullishness or feelings towards a specific blockchain. But the truth of the matter is we don't really know which ones are going to be around in the long term, even though we can make good bets, right? There could be a brand new tech that just blows everything out of the water. One thing that we've seen recently in this market is you saw Utes and DeGods, two of the biggest projects on Solana. They actually moved DeGods to Ethereum recently, Utes to Polygon. And then you also could see the same things with Pudgy Penguins. They made it so their penguins can be on multiple chains. And I think ultimately the future is multi-chain. And I think ultimately most people focus only on one chain. So if you can bridge over or expand over to some other chain, not only can you carry that exposure and influence and following that you already have on, let's say, Solana, but now all of a sudden you can tap into a brand new market on another chain, build your overall brand larger, and then now all of a sudden you have more influence and more people knowing the project on multiple chains. So it had been in the plan for a while for the Block Investment Group. And the idea is we want to expand to another chain, have our influence somewhere else. And when we're looking at the different chains, the big ones right now are going to be Ethereum, Solana, and a new one on the board recently, especially Polygon. And the reason that we've been putting more focus into Polygon right now is simply because it's a layer 2 of Ethereum, which I'm not as bullish on layer 2s, but it's the ninth largest crypto right behind Cardano. They have an amazing leaders of their project that are constantly supporting different projects out there. They've been really funding a lot of projects. They've been making very big partnerships with Disney and a lot of other companies out there. And because it's a layer 2, they can use their roll-up technology to still leverage the Ethereum blockchain as far as storing the data, but they're able to do that much faster and much cheaper and much more efficiently. So now all of a sudden you have a blockchain that's already been performing well, has a high likelihood of being around because they have a lot of different partnerships, has good tech, even though it's a layer 2, which I'd prefer just being on a layer 1 like Cardano. But it's proven itself. It has that foundation. And then on top of it, you have Utes just having migrated over there. So that's bringing in new eyes, new projects. And then on top of that, because it's EVM compatible, it's very interoperable with other blockchains out there that use Solidity, which is a lot easier to code on. So you're going to have a bridge soon where now all of a sudden all these smart contracts that were built and designed for EVM, Ethereum, can now be on Polygon. So it's just a lot of stuff going on. I really see it being an early version of what Cnfts or Cardano NFTs were. And I think it makes sense to start paying attention to that blockchain and potentially get in early before it gets really basically oversaturated like some of these other options.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because I feel like for me, at least for me, I feel like every blockchain has its own like unique like culture amongst itself. Like I feel like Cardano like represents like governance in terms of like, being a more decentralized blockchain like versus a Polygon. But for me, it kind of depends on how you look at it. I personally like decentralization. That's what I lean towards.
Yes.
But it's not at the expense that I have to disregard centralization completely. Just because there is benefits to centralization. Hell, they have money and lots of it. So it's like you can be able to like leverage that if you kind of look at it both ways. And I feel like with what you're building and like the people that are behind you and different things is in this project, as far as being able to leverage, both sides and being able to see the pros of that blockchain and the strengths of being able to capitalize on that is like just being able to even put yourself in that, not allowing yourself to be in that Cardano box and being like, oh, I only deal with Cardano projects. And I feel like some people, like you mentioned, put themselves in that box and you kind of limit yourself to levels of innovation or ideas that you would not be exposed to unless you venture out into other chains. And like truthfully, like right now, Cardano is a little dry right now. So it's like it's an opportunity to really like, you could find what somebody's doing on Polygon and be like, shit, like let me bring that back over to Cardano or what we're doing and put our own spin on it, and you be able to like extract different ideas or just what they're doing. Because like one thing I'm noticing, just like a pattern, is I'm noticing that a lot of people are coming over to Cardano. And yes, there's a lot of opportunity and there's not a lot of, products and services, minting solutions, like different things. And I think I'm noticing is just like even interviewing other projects is they're taking quote unquote like a product or service or a certain meta that's done on that chain and they're bringing it over Cardano, which is great. But at the same time, that gives you a level of foundation. But if you're not going to be innovative on building on that foundation, then like you might get caught with your pants down essentially, just because you're not looking at the long-term ecosystem. So I feel like for me, I feel like it's pros just and cons to both sides. It's just being able to look at it from both angles, and the fact that you're doing that as a project speaks volumes.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things, like if you're a project founder listening, one of the biggest things that you can learn is by looking at other chains and other projects and seeing what they're doing, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, innovate still, come up with your own ideas and revisions rather than just copy paste. But there's a lot that you can learn. Like I have learned a tremendous amount by looking into different Ethereum projects, Solana projects, projects on Polygon, whatever. Like I think the thing is like as a project founder, you want to build on a blockchain that's going to be here because in the long term, because otherwise you're building a house on a beach that might run out of sand in a couple years, right? And like now all of a sudden your house is flooded. So you really want to build on a blockchain that you see that long term vision in. But I think that people really focus on the blockchain heavy when it comes to NFT projects, when really I think the right thing to do is to focus really on that project. Because I think at any point in time, a project can pivot to another blockchain, whatever the case is. Actually having that team and their ideas and their vision and the ability to execute and their IP or whatever the case is, that's something that isn't as easily replicatable, right? So there's awesome projects, whether it's Utes, D-Gods, Pudgy Penguins, a kid called Beast, like whatever you want to call it. I'm more so thinking about that individual project than which blockchain it's on, because I know that any capable team can always pivot to another thing if they have to, right? So, and as a founder, I think it's important to be knowledgeable in these other places and these other opportunities, because at the end of the day, like your holders are like counting on you as a project. And like if you're not taking the time to like research these other things, then you're kind of doing a disservice to like everyone that's kind of believing in you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I wholeheartedly agree. It's just kind of just, that's just something that I wish would kind of like, I don't even know, in a way like dissolve or just decrease, Because even like when I first got into Cardano, it's just like you get laughed at. You like, oh, you buy Cardano projects. They laugh you
I know.
Yeah, they laugh you at the building. But like now it's
Yeah.
just kind of like changed. So I wish that we would kind of shift versus like, oh, Cardano versus ETH, or like we the Ethereum killers, we coming to come get you. Like I wish that would change and shift more into the mindset of just like, no, like everything that we're doing is building the overall ecosystem. Like even like when Ape Society went on that crazy run, like everybody was just like, well, nah, versus this project. I'm like, no, that was a win for the entire CNFT space. Like even when that one ape
Yeah.
sold for like, I think it was like 65,000 Cardano or something like that. Like that was a win for the space, just because I talked to people that were in Ethereum projects, and like that was one thing that they asked me when I was just talking about Cardano. It was just like, yeah, I know about that one ape that sold for like, tons of money. Like that's a win for the space. And even like, even with Ethereum and Bored Ape and what they're doing, or just even Azuki or Moonboards or this whatever, if they win on another chain, that's a win for the entire NFT space, period. Like,
Facts.
and like that's gonna like overall just, be able to, attract different people that are not NFTs, because that's what we're doing all this for. We're doing this to attract, different people and being able to overall grow the ecosystem. So like for me, I just want to see dope shit. I just want to see people have an idea, something innovative that they see that is not done before, and bring it over here so we can attract more people in. Period. That's what I'm looking for on the most fundamental, simplistic level. And like I feel like if we just all had that same mindset, this space would grow a lot faster, in my opinion. I mean, just for me, I just feel like it'll be just like levels of innovation to where it could just attract other people just to come in. And then just also too, like I just want to just give like a little tidbit. It's just like one thing that I wish would be done more is I wish like customer service would be a thing when it comes to NFTs. Because even when I went to NFT Miami, I was, for me going there, I was just like, I thought I'd be one of the more least knowledgeable people there. And it's not really comparing. It's just like, I was just like, wow, I knew more than I thought I did. Like in terms of like, underestimating my level of knowledge, and in terms, and like, I know for me, even going to that event, like my mindset was just like, yeah, I got my YouTube and this everything I'm building, I'm gonna go out there and promote. But then if something clicked in me like after day one, like day two and day three, my mindset totally shifted to be like, wow, there are a ton of people that don't know, hardly anything about NFTs. This is a very confusing, process for them. How can I be of service to them to where my goal is like when I have a conversation with somebody, I want you to have clarity like walking out of here. What can I do or say to give you the most clarity and understanding of this technology and what is becoming and what is going to do? What can I say or do to get that light bulb to click in your head? And how can I pour into somebody and give all the information and knowledge I can? Like my mindset switched on that day too, to be like, how can I pour into other people? And that was like my mindset. And I feel like even from there, like customer service needs to be more of a big thing, like in this space, in terms of, you know, giving people like, you know, speaking in layman's terms. I know sometimes I can get in the habit of sounding too technical with just everything that I'm doing, but like, you know, what are NFTs? Like NFTs are just, you know, essentially like Web3 startups. Like for anybody that's watched like Shark Tank, I just feel like NFTs are essentially like Shark Tank on steroids. That's what it is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like it's Shark Tank on steroids. Somebody pitches an idea, they have something they want to do, investors come in, they all grow, everybody benefits. Like, and I feel like just having a level of customer service and really, you know, speaking to people and having those conversations and being genuine, that will go a long way as well.
Yeah, dude, and it's so funny. Like you'd be shocked how much you learn being in the space. And yeah, don't undersell yourself either, man. I mean, you've been grinding for so long now. Like you know a lot of stuff, and it's funny because each day, like you just learn a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And I think it gets to the point where you don't even realize how complex some of the things can be, or like how you're speaking of the technicals. But I mean, shout out to you for just going out and like spreading the word and like teaching and educating people, because there's a lot to learn and there's a lot of learning lessons. And like you come in this space and you make a lot of mistakes and it ends up costing you, and then you get a bad rep on it, and all you hear is negative media talk. And it's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, like it's pretty much like you said, an NFT Shark Tank type deal where different people like myself can have an idea and have a vision, pitch that to everybody, have some silly art with it that holds a status or like gets to represent an individual in the community,
Yeah.
pitch that idea, and people can choose to invest in it and believe in that vision. And some people are there for a short time. Some of those are going to be ride or dies and see it through. And it's just cool, man. Like, I don't think enough people like really understand that aspect of it. At the end of the day, like NFTs are the ability to crowdsource and crowd fund not only capital but talent for new
Mm.
startup companies in a way that has never been seen before. And it's like that it's just dope. And now all of a sudden you can tap into people from all over the world with all different backgrounds, perspectives, information, knowledge that you can share with each other.
Yeah, that's definitely just something that, you know, speaks to me, being able to tap in with people around the world. Like I've met people from Nigeria, tons of people. I've met people from the
Yeah.
Philippines, and just like even it like even it's so dope. Even when I went to that event, to be able to like meet somebody in person like that I've talked to for an entire year, and then I actually like stayed at their house and everything like just during the event, and just like it's surreal just to be able to have like those meetups and meet people in real life that you've been talking to. So it's just like it has adds that element as well. So it definitely is dope. One thing just about the project that I wanted to go into, I know you have like partnered with Brave Dogs and Astro and just a lot of different projects like building in the space. Can you speak to like why you chose those projects, and then also is there any other services or resources that you're looking to get into or just build with your overall ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think when first getting started with the B.I.G, like one of the big things I was thinking is like, okay, we have to be sustainable. Like, I'm really into the economics of NFTs and like, I find it super fascinating. And it's like one of the big things is you have to have some sort of business aspect to make it sustainable without just needing to mint stuff all the time. It's not really a sustainable model. It kind of hurts the people that bought in early, right? So in the get go, it's like, okay, let's have this amazing platform. Let's have, lending. Let's have nodes. Let's have this. Let's have that. And one of the things that I quickly realized is it's very time consuming to develop these different things. It's very expensive to develop these different things. And on top of that, it's very hard to compete at a high level when you're doing so many different things at the same time. So part of the issue is we could come out with a lending platform and we could come out with this and we could come out with that. But other competitors in the space where that's their full focus are most likely going to do a better job. So one of the big realizations that I had is really we need to build our brand IP community and influence as much as possible, and then leverage that into whatever we're doing to increase the likelihood of success with that. But instead of in the beginning with limited funds trying to develop everything ourselves, figure out different people that we can partner with in the space where that is their full focus, and we can kind of get behind them and leverage what we do well and leverage a product that we already believe in that they've came out with, and kind of make exclusive partnership and agreement. And at first, I will say too, one of our main developers was going through a lot of emotional stuff, a lot of health stuff, and it was causing things to be a lot slower getting executed. And for me, I'm like really patient and understanding, and I try to be like empathetic. But I was giving him a little too much time to get some of the things done. So all of a sudden, I was like, you know what? It makes sense to make this switch. Let's focus on establishing partnerships that are already working on this that could execute it faster. And that's where Brave Dawgs came in. That's where the Astros team came in. And when it comes to, I guess, why we picked Brave Dawgs and Astros, when it comes to Brave Dawgs, these guys have been in our community for a while. Super smart guys, 2 developers, really, really talented, very trustworthy, high integrity, get the job done, very hardworking. And we really see eye to eye on a lot of things. And we could really easily incorporate them to the team and develop a lot of the tech we need. We needed a minting provider, which was perfect. Now they can handle our mints. And then on top of that, in exchange for us being able to give them additional revenue to their minting platform, they now can help us out with some of other blockchain stuff. And now it's kind of a win-win where we're helping each other out. So it's kind of the perfect relationship with the Brave Dawgs guys. With Astros, the whole thing was we were already trying to make a lending platform. They have a lending platform called Flux that should be out sometime relatively soon. And we're going to make some sort of deal with them. Now, they're actually going to have a way to sponsor a pool. And then they also offered like a white label solution. Whatever route we go is still being decided. We got to see how things play out before we lock in anything. At least in the beginning, we can do a sponsored pool, see how we like that, and see if we want our own solution for that. The only thing is like regulatory stuff starts to come up, especially with all the lending crackdowns. So it's like it might be a lot less liability to also have them handle the tech and be liable for stuff. And we just kind of use and leverage that tech. And that's a lot better when it comes to the legal side of things, because worst case, we don't want our project to get in trouble legally in a couple years. And then what was your next question? Or
it's just like, is there any upcoming like tools or just different resources that you're looking to venture to as well?
Yeah, so there's a ton of stuff. So we've been building out this whole entire platform that's going to be used with our JellyChunk token. And I can't talk too much about JellyChunk tokens yet here, but I think that it's really going to revolutionize tokens. Like I think a lot of people are going to start copying us once we do this, because it's just a better way of doing things than what's already out there. So we're making a whole entire platform where you can use these different chunks in a very, very cool ways. And we're making these chunks hybrid where they can be both on and off chain. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to be compatible with every single blockchain, while at the same time being able to develop really quickly, while at the same time having the benefits of having an on-chain token as well as an option. So the big thing that's coming out this month that's pretty much ready to roll is actually phase 1 of our multiple phases of our platform that we're creating. So phase 1 is kind of this whitelist management / giveaway platform. So I don't know if you're aware, but there's a platform called Subber and Atlas on Solana, and they actually do whitelist management for multiple chains, but it allows different communities, different projects to request collabs with each other. And basically they can do these different whitelists giveaways by having different requirements like follow this Twitter, like this post, stuff like that, right? In my opinion, these platforms have something right, but they have something wrong. The cool thing about it is projects are trying to find ways to give out whitelists to their project in a smart way. Having just public drops, it gets spotted, it's not going to the right holders. It's really important that it's going to the right holders, but then if people are just grinding for whitelist, it's a bunch of people grinding for whitelist that are just going to flip. Mm-hmm. So the whole concept is you want to get your allocation of supply to people that are most likely going to hold and support that vision. If you just give it to a bunch of people that are going to flip it, it's going to kill your floor right away, right? So what we're doing is we notice this direction. We also have our own minting platform. So what we're going to start doing is have a way where people can not only manage their whitelist, but have a way where projects can allocate their whitelist or allocate their supply to individuals or communities that they think are a right match for them. The negative with Subber and Atlas, though, is you get like thousands of collab requests. It's very clunky when it comes to that. It's kind of the pain. It's mostly just whitelist based, right? So what we're doing, and you guys will see shortly here, is how we're setting things up kind of gets rid of all of the spammy collab requests that are very difficult to manage and sort through. And it also integrates other versions of giveaways that aren't just whitelist. And this is pretty much going to end up being a better version of raffles, a better version of Twitter rating tools, a better version of whitelist allocation. And it's going to set up the foundation for us to be able to launch some of the other things. And ultimately, the goal is to just keep building on each other. And, you know, this will be out soon enough. But once this core platform and infrastructure are out, each phase is going to be easier and has a higher likelihood of success because it's just building off the foundation of the previous phase. But phase one takes the longest to build because it's the foundation we're building. So I'm excited to announce like this will come out. Hopefully it should come out in the next month here. And I'll be making some announcements with it.
Yeah, that's definitely like big as far as just like that transition. And even like I had a conversation with somebody else similar about like, you know, what you're building in terms of like, you know, a prediction. It's going to be like in the future, of course, like grinding will probably always be a thing, you know, hello, good morning, how you doing? Like all those type of things.
Yes.
But at the same time, I do see a future where like, you know, whitelists will be given to like people that actually hold projects or just like collabs and different things. So it'll be like, you know, if you hold like a top tier project, that'll open doors for you to just get into other projects because you've already demonstrated that like if a project has the value and the utilities you're looking for, you will hold that project. You've already demonstrated that. So it's just like it's kind of like, you know, just getting into that process and that flow and just building, just because like even a lot of other things that you mentioned in terms of like, you know, people getting in and not really, you know, getting into the project and flipping and public mints and just all these different things. Like I feel like the process that's going to go, I wouldn't say it's going to go away completely because like I'm not a fortune teller. I don't speak in absolute truths, but like just at the same time, I feel like there's going to be different innovative ways that project owners are going to be looking to be like, okay, I want the most, because essentially you want the most valuable people to get whitelist or just hold your project. That's essentially what you're looking for. And I feel like the ways that projects are doing it now really doesn't demonstrate like somebody, like a valuable person, like holding that whitelist, in my opinion. Like, I feel like the grinding aspect, yes, like it is good and it builds like activity in the server. But if all you're saying is good morning and hello and how you're doing, and that's all you say 500 times a day, then you really don't have like any level of like comprehension of like why you're getting excited about this project or like what they're actually doing or what they're actually building. You're just chasing a hype train to just be able to monetize and capitalize off hype and flip. And I feel like that's something that, you know, is going to become less and less, like in my opinion, but just at the same time, just at a way that project owners can kind of, you know, build into their ecosystem and overall just raise the level of their project.
Yeah, 100%. And like I'm telling you right now, like there are people with 30 Discord accounts grinding, and all 30 they'll chat with each other and say good morning. It's like,
Yeah.
and then like it is just not an effective way. And like there's a lot of people that are awesome for communities and don't have time for that. And it's like, imagine, you, for example. I know, but pre-call here, you were talking about how you want to make content for a kid called Beast, and you've really found like a home in that project in a sense. And you want to build that. I would rather have 100 of you, man. I'd rather have one of you than 100 people just saying good morning each day, because you're someone that can bring value to the community. And once again, pre-call, it's like you've transitioned from, okay, what can this project do for me, to what can I do for this project? And if you can start off your group or your community with people with that mindset, then that's going to take you way further. And you might be able to be like, which other community or project out there has that mindset or shares that vision? Or, maybe I'm trying to start an alpha group, and this is an alpha group. Like these guys probably are better people to give whitelist to because they've already been in an alpha group, right? So I like how Subber and Atlas have been doing that. But like I said, there's issues with it. And that's where I think we can come in and, like I was saying earlier, instead of just copy and paste that over to Cardano, look at what has been working on other chains as it's gained traction for whatever reason. See if that's something that we think the trend is going to in the long term, that isn't something that's just going to go away in a short term, actually solve some sort of problem, which is getting whitelist into the right hands, but then improvising and changing some things that we think is going to be a better approach as far as the actual process, rather than just, copying the process and hoping we can get more attraction than them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I definitely look forward to, I said that like 3 times, but I look
Yeah.
forward to that coming out, this month. And just a lot of things that you're building. I know something that was, it's been talked about just in the Cardano spaces, and even I know on your spaces, just listening to that, as far as just, every Tuesday, definitely check that out on the Twitter spaces. You talked about like Cardano DeFi and different things. Can you speak to this Cardano DeFi? Because I know DeFi is just something that I'm still, learning and maneuvering through. And I feel like DeFi is going to be huge for like NFTs because, as the DeFi ecosystem booms, there's going to be a ton of money that's going to flood into NFTs. And I feel like it's a very important like step for the blockchain once we start reaching that pinnacle, or just like the bubble burst, like for instance. So could you speak to like Cardano DeFi?
Yeah, man. So it's kind of funny. Like at the beginning of the call, I was like, I first got into mining, and then NBA Top Shots, and then ETH NFTs, and then I got into DeFi heavy, and then I got back into NFTs. So one of the things that like had blown up, Solana and even Ethereum in a lot of ways, is like they had DeFi and all of these dApps, like decentralized applications. People were going on there, making money, farming, whatever the case is. And then that money eventually did flow into NFTs and other things that were on the chain. And Solana was a prime example of when Ethereum gas fees were crazy. They kind of came in, it was super cheap to get into NFTs, but they also had a TVL boom, total value locked, or the amount of money that flowed into their DeFi. And Cardano was interesting, where the NFTs came out before there was actually smart contracts. So there were no decentralized applications on Cardano. It wasn't even possible. And then there was a fork that basically allowed smart contracts. And I remember when I was seeing this happen, I was like, oh my gosh, all these other chains blow up once they have DeFi rolling. Cardano doesn't have DeFi. Now that there's going to be smart contracts, it's going to blow up. A lot more money is going to flow in, and that's going to really boost up Cardano, because Cardano is already where it's at, and they don't even have dApps yet.
Yeah.
So long story short, though, it's been taking a lot longer than I thought it was for these dApps to come out. And the reason is because it is hard to code on Cardano. It's Plutus. You got to know Haskell in order to code it. It's a pain. It's very difficult compared to Solidity or Rust on Solana, right? So now that things are finally starting to come out, And now we have like B.I.G, which is a stable coin, and Indigo and LQ and ADA and all these. Now that these are finally coming out, we're starting to see TVL go up. So you can go on DeFi Llama, track the chain's TVL, and Cardano has gone from the 28th or 29th largest blockchain to TVL, which is horrible, to now like the 18th, which is still super small. Yeah. But it's been progressing a lot. And if you look at it, the TVL for ADA is the highest it's ever been. We're pretty much at 400 million ADA, which is the highest, and it's actually pretty much 2x over the last 2 to 3 months. So a lot more people are starting to pay attention to it. And the whole thought process is that as more projects come out, there's going to be more money flowing into this ecosystem. As more money flows into the ecosystem, it's going to be more beneficial or lucrative for developers to come and actually learn how to code these things. And then all of a sudden, that money will then, in my opinion, flow into the NFTs as more people just get into the ecosystem. Now, what's really cool with Cardano is just saying, like, the worst part about Cardano, in my opinion, is the difficulty of coding, as well as the interoperability, which means that it's not EVM compatible. You just can't port stuff over. So it's like it's almost like in its own little bubble, its own little ecosystem, and it makes development a pain in the ass, right? What's really cool is Melco Meta, they actually just announced that next month they're making EVM compatibility come to Cardano. So now all of a sudden it is going to be possible next month, supposedly, for projects that built with Solidity and EVM for them to actually just port stuff over to Cardano. And if that's the case, then it's going to get a lot easier to build over here. And they even partnered with a gaming platform called like Paima or Paema, something like that, where they're also using Cardano as its main blockchain, but they're allowing developers to code in languages they already know, like Java, C++, whatever. They're allowing those guys to basically be able to come in and leverage the Cardano technology while being able to just code in their normal language that they're used to. So it's like these are two major things that I think is solving the number one issue with Cardano, and that's just how difficult it is to actually build here. And if we start continuing to see that TVL go up, it's just inevitable for me for Cardano to gain as a result with a more thriving ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely. It's lots to like look.
That was a lot. That was a lot.
Yeah, it's lots to look forward to. When it comes to like Cardano, and like I mentioned, I'm still like bridging and learning into the DeFi ecosystem, and I feel like it's important to like position yourself that way because I don't want to like when the boom comes, I don't want to be in position but like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what I'm doing. Like I want to
like don't know what to do.
Yeah, so I kind of like, that's just the element that I still want to learn. But I know we're kind of like pushing like the time limit, and I want to be very respectful of your time and everything. But I just did have like one more question in terms of like what is your like long-term prediction for like CNFTs and then NFTs? Like where do you see like Cardano going in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now?
Man, I mean, it's a good question. Like, I'm a believer long term. Otherwise, I wouldn't have picked to build a project here, right? Yeah. Like, I'm a believer not only long term in Cardano NFTs, but just NFTs in general. And I think right now we're extremely early. There's not a lot of people that understand the technology. There's a lot of misconceptions about what NFTs are. The majority of people still think they're scams. Even a lot of people that have gotten NFTs don't really know where this is going in the long term. And there's a lot of things to figure out. The space has been changing a lot. So I think in the long term, NFTs are going to be much larger than they are today. You're already seeing a lot of major corporations start to develop different NFTs, get in, at least when it comes to branding, launch their own projects. And I think it's only going to increase. And you're going to start seeing major companies or major IPs just start to integrate these digital collectibles, is probably what they'll call it, right? So I think in the future, maybe even in the next 5 years, I think we can go from maybe like let's say 1 out of 100 people own an NFT right now, which is not true. I think it could be 10 times, 20 times, 100 times the amount of people that we currently see today, just because it's going to have a lot more legitimacy. I mean, there's even rumors right now that Amazon's going to launch their own NFT marketplace sometime in the next couple months, and that's Amazon. You
Yeah.
know, when Amazon puts their name on something, it shows legitimacy. And I think the problem in the space is not a lot of people think it's legitimate. And I mean, that's just crypto in general. Like the amount of people that still don't even know what crypto is or think it's legitimate is really, really low.
Yeah.
So then when you talk about NFTs, it's like you're trying to tell people that don't even believe in crypto to believe in NFTs,
Yeah.
right? So it's going to take time, right? And in that meantime, like very few projects are going to make it. You know, they say like maybe 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 startup businesses are successful. I'd say 1 in 100 maybe are successful in Web3. And I think that's going to be a trend that we're really going to see if we continue to be in a bear market where like a lot of these projects simply don't make it. They don't have what it takes. They run out of money. Their founders aren't dedicated. They don't have a vision. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to put a team together and provide value. And I think a lot of these projects are going to fail. But I think in the long term, you're going to have some projects that actually survive and make it. And they're going to have been so early that now they're going to have this amazing moat, so to speak, in the future, where they're already so connected and leveraged and have so much influence in this space that now it's going to be a lot harder for other projects, even these much larger companies that might come in with thousands of employees. It's going to be harder. They're still going to be able to compete because essentially what's going to happen is the bar is just going to keep getting raised. The standard of a project on Ethereum is higher than that on Solana, is higher than that on Cardano, is higher than that than Polygon, right? What's going to happen is the bars are just going to get raised. The standard right now of maybe someone being able to come out with just 2 people and launch a project, that's going to go away in a couple years. And this opportunity to launch your own project is not going to be here for the average individual anymore, because you're going to have companies with 500 people that are showing every single transaction they have, are incredibly transparent, have a bunch of funds, already have IP, already have developers. It's going to be very hard to compete with them, but that's going to boost up the standard, and that's going to make it so a lot more people are comfortable to invest. So right now is really the opportunity for the early birds, so to speak, that might not have that positioning yet to really position themselves in the market now while we're here. And then as far as Cardano NFTs go, I believe in Cardano is going to get a lot more TVL. I think it's going to be here. It's not VC backed. It's very decentralized. You know, you have Charles that's constantly speaking. A lot of people are really dedicated and committed. The people that are here, a lot of them are very educated on cryptocurrency and, you know, have the bigger picture. Even when it comes to the developers on Cardano, a lot of them are more skilled and more knowledgeable than developers in other spaces because they have to be. And I think right now Cardano is a really great foundation where now really what they have to do is improve scaling and interoperability, which is what they're working on. And there's some other stuff they've got to improve on with Catalyst and, you know, top down support and funding. But I think Cardano NFTs are going to get a lot bigger in the future. And right now we might be in a rut because, you know, there was so much TVL, so many mints recently, whatever the case is. But I just can't imagine if Cardano succeeds as a blockchain for NFTs not to be a part of that. And if Cardano is 10, 20, 50, 100 times the price in 5 years and is, you know, 50 times the size as it is today and has way better fundamentals and has solved some of these issues that we're experiencing right now, then I don't know how that wouldn't have a positive correlation with NFTs, which are directly built on that blockchain.
Wow. Wow, man, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. Yeah, definitely. It's a lot to look forward to. But yeah, I appreciate you having you on here. You, like I said before, man, you really was like legit like the first person that gave me about starting NFTs. Like without you, I wouldn't even be here. So I'm always going to have the utmost respect for you, man. But I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. This is Stu from Stu TV. I cover all things blockchain, metaverse, crypto, NFTs, all money making opportunities in the space. We'll catch you in the next one.
See you guys.
Yeah.